morning, and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We are on episode 49. We're going to be reading the NFL Sunday slate with the Monday Night Football. We're going to talk about upcoming Thursday night and how did the whole college playoffs shake out and what do we think about it. But first, let me bring on my co-host, Mr. Tim Cook. How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Some good football on Sunday. We had some really good games. Even the Sunday night one came down to the end, and even the Monday night game that we thought was going to be a snoozer, that actually came down to the end too. So,
yeah, I mean, they were good games. They didn't have as much playoff indication to them,
right.
At least the Monday night game. But I hope everyone got to enjoy the Homer Simpson, the Simpson kind of thing, because I thought that was pretty cool. But let's get started on our must-watch games. First one was the Vikings versus Atlanta. Kirk Cousins coming back to get his revenge of an ass beaten.
Yeah.
Vikings take handle. Honestly, this is the team that I've been waiting for. This is the team that I'm like, hey, they can win and do damage in the playoffs if they play like this. Sam Darnold looked good. They ran the ball. Justin Jefferson's got 2 touchdowns. Jordan Addison gets 3 touchdowns. Sam Darnold throws 5 touchdowns while Kirk Cousins on the other sideline thinking, what the hell did I decide to do? And he throws a pick where it gets intercepted. Great game by the Vikings, awful game by Atlanta. But what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, even the game started out. Darnold didn't start out very good. No. I mean, they got the pressure. Atlanta was bringing pressure to Darnold, and they had 4 sacks early in the first half. I mean, they were, and then that Ricard, he's coming back from an injury. He kicks the field goal, he doinks it, and it's like, uh-oh. It just seemed like. And like around halfway through the third quarter, that they just put it. They were like, you know what? Let's stop screwing around and let's put it to him. I mean, the passes he was throwing down the field, Atlanta had no answer. I mean, they had that one guy. He was just running around like in a circle. While Jefferson was catching the ball, and he scored that touchdown. It's like, what do you got? I mean, they thought they had him. Darnold comes out of the pocket and he just throws it down there, and he's wide open. It was just like it just seemed like they were just. They got to the point, like I said, in the third quarter, they said, okay, let's just take it right to them. And even the defense stepped up. Cousins had 2 interceptions. I mean, Darnold had 347 yards passing. Cousins had 338 touchdown or 338 yards passing as well. I mean, that with the 2 interceptions, it looks a little kind of not quite as good. But, and the Vikings have won 6 in a row. Uh-oh, here they come.
Yeah, no, I definitely think they were trading blows, it felt like, in the third quarter.
Right.
And then obviously the big touchdown pass. And then it was just like, then that's when the defense came alive. And I think that's what I'm saying is, we talk about Notre Dame's defense. We talk about the Vikings defense comes to play when it's time to play. Now, the problem is you can't wait too long for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get going after it earlier. I do think they let a little bit happen, and then it was like, okay, shut it down. But yeah, no, the Vikings look good. And honestly, after seeing the Green Bay and Detroit play as close as they did, I still want to have faith in the Vikings that we have a different team than usual. But as a Vikings fan, you always feel that this is the moment where it's like, okay, we look good, and playoff time comes around and we just get slaughtered. And it's like, all right, well, this was fun. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like it was just, I mean, I thought it was going to be a lot closer game the way it started out in the first half. I mean, it was kind of, close. And like I said, they were getting pressure on Darnold, but they just, they got out of it and they just, and Atlanta didn't have no answer for it whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, that takes us to our second must-watch game, Seahawks versus the Cardinals. Divisional game that we thought would come down to the end. Didn't really kind of be much of a good game. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, Murray was getting going early. He threw a touchdown pass to Wilson, got it 7-0. And then the Seahawks got to kick a field goal 7-3. But then Murray throws an interception, short field. They get it going, and they get things going. Seahawks got Charbonnet going big time. He had a hell of a game. That was another deal too. I mean, they just seemed like they couldn't get nothing going. The Cardinals. He's just a dink and doink passer. It didn't seem like he threw one down to Harrison in the end zone, and Harrison tried to make a catch on it, but the ball was just all over the place. And he tried to make the catch, and it's just like he's just not consistent. And now he's starting to throw interceptions. And as I have him on fantasy, That's not a good thing. I mean, when you're starting to throw, now you're putting your team behind the 8 ball. They didn't get James Conner going whatsoever because they got behind early. I mean, they tried to get him going in the second half, but it was too late. I mean, they just put the penalty. I mean, they had no answer. That defense, the Cardinals defense, had no answer for Charbonnet whatsoever. I mean, they were shut down the passing, but Charbonnet was just running all over. Out of the backfield, he was catching balls and also running.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say they shut down the passing because Jackson Smith-Njigba had good catches when he needed to. DK Metcalf had good catches when he needed to. It was really just the fact of the Cardinals offense. They have weapons. It doesn't make sense why they struggle the way they do.
Right.
Because Kyler Murray looks great sometimes, and then sometimes he just looks really bad. And this was a game where I understand when you get behind, you can't run the ball anymore. But you still have to stay to what you are. And when they just took out James Conner, I was like, oh, is he injured? Like, it just seemed like they, even with the passing out of the backfield, Trey McBride was nowhere to be found for Arizona. Marvin Harrison Jr. can't be your only weapon. So, yeah, it was a very big dump by the Cardinals. I thought they would give more than that.
Yeah, and they got to 27-18 when they scored a touchdown, and then Murray got the 2-point conversion. But then it was like too little too late.
Yeah.
And now the Seahawks have swept them, so they're up 2 with 4 to go, and they've got the advantage right now. So the team I would be a little bit nervous about right now is the LA Rams, and we'll talk about them a little bit later.
Yeah, I agree, but also at the same time, the Seahawks, this isn't a division that I feel like is going to win out.
Right.
So even with LA, but like this now solidified that I think they're a playoff. I just don't think they're a deep playoff run team. Seahawks, LA, whoever you talk about, I don't see it happening out of this division this year.
No, I don't think there's no defense that scares you out of that division.
That Seahawks defense looks pretty good against a bad Cardinals offense at one point. So
right.
And then the other must-watch game was the Chargers versus the Chiefs. Both teams coming in looking for a good win. What happened to – wait, no, that's a different game. What do you think about this game?
It started out really slow. I mean, their kicker kicked a couple field goals, and then Mahomes to Hopkins right at the end of the first half made it 13-0. You're thinking, here's a blowout. They're going to run away from it. But, the Chiefs this year, they have not blown anybody out. So they let him right back in. And Herbert, Herbert got going with Johnston. Edwards had a rushing touchdown. I mean, it was close. And then here's Mahomes again, got that key third down play, and he got it to Kelsey, and they got into field goal range. And I don't know how any other team is so lucky this year as the Chiefs. You doink the ball off the left upright, and it still goes in for the win. They said this is their 5th game in a row that they won on the last possession. The 5th game in a row they've won in a row. I mean, eventually this is you would think this would have to stop.
Well, and I think when it does eventually stop is in the playoffs. I don't see this team. This isn't the Chiefs team that we're used to. This isn't the Chiefs team that has the dominant weapons / Patrick Mahomes playing perfect. I mean, even Patrick Mahomes did not look great in this game. Definitely the second half. I mean, but their biggest problem is field goals. Score touchdowns. You got to score. It's almost why the Raiders came back and won that game on them is because they get field goals when Raiders were like, hey, we're going to score a touchdown to catch back up. It was a little bit of a disappointing first half by the Chargers because it was one of these things where you're like, this is a big game. This is a game that you need to solidify. Hey, we are going to be in the playoffs making runs, and they just didn't. I mean, that first half, they struggled. And I think J.K. Dobbins is out, correct?
Yes.
Because I think that's a huge factor in their running game is he was such a vital person. So it definitely takes away. And unfortunately, I know I'm about to say this, but it seems like they're just kind of missing a deep threat, a wide receiver that can just extend the defense. So, but it did come down to be a good game, but that's just because it's the Chiefs and they've energy factor, I guess.
But I tell you what, Anthony, next year or the next couple years, watch out for the Chargers. They are a sneaky good team. And we've been saying that in previous podcasts. Once Harbaugh gets his players, I think they're going to be the Chiefs will have to reckon with them because I think once he gets his players there, I think they'll be right there with the Chiefs.
Yeah,
Because I think his defense is going to be a lot better once he gets his players. And like you said, they need a deep threat. But maybe they just need somebody with good hands.
Yeah, but I feel like you kind of have that with Lad McConkey, but you just need someone that can extend the field, right? Like someone that makes you not just sit in the box all day. And that's the thing. Quentin Johnson is supposed to be that. He's not. Yeah. And Lad McConkey, I mean, nothing against it, but he's just not that guy. Like,
well, and he's hurt now. He's hurt. Yeah. So I mean, is he going to be able to play for 17 games in a season? Well, because yeah,
he's just so small that it's hard for me to play. And that's why I say. And also, the one thing I'm going to say about their defense is they're old. That D line is.
Yeah.
So you better replenish it with whatever guys he's going to get, because I unfortunately think that, like, I mean, you got Khalil Mack. He's eventually going to go. You got over there that can't stay healthy for a season to save us. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I hope that they do get going eventually, because this team deserves it. And they, for me personally, have the coolest colors. I love their colors. I love that.
Me too. The baby blue. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So it'd be nice to just kind of see them get going a little bit.
Which now the Chiefs have won, what they say, 6 or 7 divisions in a row, or maybe more than that, 8 or 9. They've won the division 9 times in a row. It's just like, wow, they're dominant. They've been dominant for the last decade. So, and I think also too, like you were piggybacking on I think Herbert has such a strong arm. They almost need somebody like maybe a Tyreek Hill, somebody like that, a speedster that could stretch the field, because he has got a rocket for an arm.
And the perfect person I think was on the other team, Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, right.
I feel like Xavier Worthy and Chiefs 5 years ago would have been a great addition.
Right.
Now I just think they play so conservative. They don't want to throw.
Well, they have so many weapons. They have so many weapons now.
But I feel like, when the game's not games on the line, but when the game starts off, it feels like they have no weapons, and that's the difference between this Chiefs. And I'm not putting that at Patrick Mahomes' feet. I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, it's like they're 2 runs, pass, 3 and out, kick it. And it was like what happened? What happened to this team that you're like, holy shit, watch on TV because it was such a great. Other games that happened in the NFL this weekend: Jaguars beat the Titans 10-6. Dolphins win 32-6 against the Jets in overtime. The Saints beat the Giants 14-11. Eagles beat the Panthers 22-16. Steelers beat the Browns 27-14. Buccaneers beat the Raiders 28-13. Bills lose to the Rams 44-42. The Bears lose to the 49ers 38-13. And then on Monday night, the Bengals beat the Cowboys 27-20. What else happened this NFL you want to talk about?
The Eagles hung on. Now we've got turmoil. We've got players talking smack now. For a team that's won 9 in a row, and now there's turmoil there. Do you think it's a little bit with the coach? He likes to stir the turmoil. Jets and Dolphins, that ended up being a really good game. Rodgers threw for 339 in a loss. First time he's thrown over 300 yards in 3 years. Jets defense gave up 375 yards. The Bears, 4 yards in the first half. You had more punts than you had yards. Yikes. Now that just says right there, maybe it wasn't Eberflus. Maybe it's the team. Maybe it's the players, Brian Poles, you put together is where the issue is now.
Well, and that's actually what I was bringing up when I said the third must-watch game was what happened? What happened to the progression? It was one of these things where Caleb Williams just taking steps forward, and this is and then 4 yards. I mean, honestly, this game was over at halftime. It was over. Yep. They on the red zone, they stopped playing it. They stopped even showing it. It was
right. Yep. Pittsburgh's won 21 games at home against Cleveland in a regular season. The Rams upset the Bills. That if you had the red zone, that was the game. I mean, they eventually went to that game after the Bears game. I think it was the Bears game. But anyway, they went to that game. That game would end up being a very good game that neither one of the defenses wanted to play. I mean, and now the Rams were just 1 game back from the Seahawks. So that could be. And then last night's punt that somebody touches and then he fumbles, and and then the Bengals and the. You played football. When somebody, if you're playing on special teams and somebody blocks the ball, should you still go grab the ball?
No. So it was one of these things where if the ball would go behind the punter, right? If it got blocked behind, go get it. Because even if they go get it, they gotta go get a first down, right?
Right.
But if it goes backwards, get the hell away. And I want to say this: the word that
if it goes forward, get the hell out of the way.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The ball gets blocked and it's coming still towards your returner that way.
Right.
When I've always played football, I've always heard the same word, Peter. Peter. Get the Peter away from the ball. And I always asked the coach, and I finally asked the coach in college, why do we yell Peter? And he's like, because I need you to get your Peter to the sideline. Get the hell from the ball.
Right.
I don't know if this guy was like, this is my shining moment, but just so dumb. So dumb.
And that's typical Cowboys this year.
Yeah.
And that's just how they've been playing. Just stepping on your Peter every game. And then they go down and score the touchdown, and the ball game is over. Now, what'd you think of Micah Parsons leaving the field with 7 seconds to go? He was verbally upset about the play. You could tell on the sideline after they scored with a minute to go, he was not a happy camper on the sideline.
Yeah.
But he knows that this team is not that good, and they had him. This was a game they could have won.
Yeah, I think it's getting a little bit to Parsons on the aspect of like, there's just been games they should have won this year. And not that it was going to change whether they got to the playoffs or Super Bowl, but like when you're in Dallas and you're that guy and you got Jerry Jones, it just probably gets overwhelming after a while of just these awful losses where you're like, I can only do so much. I play D-end. I play linebacker. Do I got to go out and cover Jamar Chase? Like, what the F do I have to do? Yeah, I get that. I also do. But at the same time, like people try to put themselves in players' mindsets. When you play a sport as competitive and as aggressive as football is, sometimes you can't control that emotions. And you're like, I'm going to get away before I do something real dumb.
Right.
I think Parsons knew on the sideline, some guys came up to him and said, hey, relax. And he's like, then you know what? F that. I'm gone then. I'm pissed. And you know what? As a fan, you're like, oh, man, that guy doesn't have – I love those players. That's a Baker Mayfield in my mind. He's giving you 10% every play, and he's pissed when it doesn't work out. I like that. That.
Yeah, I get it. And then they had a PI called against them. So then that drive stayed, and then that block punt. When that block punt, they had him. The PI hurt him, but then they had him. They had him right there, and then that player. I mean, I think he was trying to maybe see if he could catch the ball and run with it. He's seen a gap and he's seen a lane and thought he'd take a shot, and then it came back to bite him. So
I think it was a play where once you see it, you're like, that's the ball. And if I get this, I'm going. And it's just that split second. I made the wrong one. I definitely agree back when you were saying the Bills and Rams. I also just think in my head, like, how do you give up 42 points? Or how do you give up, how do you score 42 points and lose this game?
Right.
Buffalo's defense is not supposed to be that bad. Don't get me wrong. LA's got these weapons going, and that's why I want to pump the brakes a little bit on LA. They look good. But it's once every 3 weeks, it seems like, with this team. You have so many weapons. Kyron Williams looked good. God forbid he doesn't have a good game and whoops my ass in fantasy. Like, these things were like, they're so inconsistent. And that's what Seattle's been recently, is consistent.
And Allen had 6 total touchdowns. That guy's on fire right now. If he ain't the MVP right now, tell me who is it? I mean, the last 2 games he's had 10 touchdowns, receiving, passing, and and running in. I mean, he's on fire right now. Nakua and Cup had 254 yards combined. I mean, they just. When I was watching the game, I'm like, can these guys? I actually wrote in my notes that the upset with when they were up by 17 with like 8 minutes to go, and they let them right back in. And I agree with you. The defense in the NFC West is not good. It's not good. I think Seattle's is probably the best, but I don't know if they go up against Detroit or Philadelphia. Vikings. Yes.
No.
Can they slow them down? I don't think so.
Well, and the other game that I thought was good too was the Jaguars and Titans. Very boring game.
Yeah.
let's be honest. Can we eventually say it? The Will Levis era is a bust. It's a bust. The guy just isn't that good. He's a solid backup quarterback, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But, he's got Calvin Ridley out there, that Ike or whatever. And it just was one of these games where you're just like there's drop balls, and he's throwing it to Tyler Boyd in triple coverage. And it's just that.
And he's got a good running back in Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
I mean, their defense is okay, but I mean, they got a pretty good off. Yeah, I think they may have to go with Rudolph.
Yeah.
Back to Rudolph again.
Well, and that's the thing.
He's not hurt.
He gave up 10 points, and you lose this game when you have all those weapons. It just can't happen. And I thought Mason Rudolph was going to start the second half because of that last play of the game.
Yeah, because he got rocked. Yeah.
So, but yes, how'd you do on your bets this week?
Oh, not too bad, really. I went 2-1. I had the Raiders and Bucks. I had given the 6.5. They won. The Saints and Giants, they were up 14-3 at one time. And it was middle of the fourth quarter. Oh, I'm looking pretty good. And then Giants go right down there and they get the touchdown and 2-point conversion. So now I'm hoping, and they get the ball back. So I'm hoping, you know what? Tie ball game. I can still maybe cover the spread. Saints blocked the field goal and the game was over. Typical Giants of this year. And then I had the Chargers and Chiefs giving 4, or Chargers getting 4, and they end up winning by 3. They lost by 3, but they covered the spread. So I went 2-1.
Yeah, I went 0-3. Big bad hero burger.
Yikes.
I had the Raiders versus Tampa. I took the over on that 45.5. Ended up like 41. Both teams decided to play in the fourth quarter. It wasn't much. I was like, I kind of called it as a loss early in the game, and then it got a little bit closer, and it kind of was like, oh, we need a touch. Yeah, piss off. And then I took the Titans -3. Hey, it's the Jags. Why would you lose this game? 6 points. 6 effing points. And then I took the Bills giving 3.5 because the Rams haven't been consistent all year. They've lost at home. Who cares? Oh, there it is. Should have took the over. I thought about that before that bet, but oh well. Upcoming this week on Thursday night, we have the LA Rams and the 49ers. 49ers are coming off that big not upsetting, but big win against the Bears, and Rams are coming up that upsetting win against the Bills. It should be a good game. It's one of these ones where I think when the year started, everyone was very excited for it. I don't know if it'll be that exciting kind of going into Thursday night. It's a standalone game. You'll watch it because you have to, but it's not one that I would sit there and go, this is going to be great. I don't know.
Well, and the Rams need to win.
Yep.
To stay with Seattle, and the 49ers would love to try to knock them off. And what 49ers team you're getting? The team that, played against the Bears last week. I mean, the Rams defense I think is a little bit better than the Bears, but I can see this being a pretty good game because it's a conference game, and the 49ers, they don't have a shot for the playoffs, but they like to knock the Rams out.
Well, and you got to look at this too. The 49ers only one game back from the Rams, okay?
Right.
Seahawks are one game ahead of the Rams.
Right.
The Seahawks have to play the Packers this weekend. I'm going to count that as a loss. I'm going to say that right now, okay?
Right.
Which we just said, can this team hold up against them? If 49ers beat the Rams, they're one game back from Seahawks. The 49ers that have had injuries this year are one game back.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, if they make it to the playoffs, I don't think they're scary. But that Shanahan, coach of the year, the fact that he had to go through all that shit to get him to a playoff team, I don't care how much talent was on the paper before the year started. What he had to deal with during the year, crazy.
Right.
But yes, so Thursday night you have that. There is no more college football Thursdays, no college football Fridays, because now we are into the conference or the college playoffs. You'll hear about some bowls coming up and stuff like that. But one of the games for December 20th, that's when our next bowl game is.
College playoff game.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Playoff.
Yes.
Indiana took number 10. They'll be taking on number 7, Notre Dame. SMU came in at 11 after their loss. They'll take on number 6, Penn State at Penn State. Number 12, Clemson will take on number 5, Texas. Number 9, Tennessee will take on number 8, Ohio State. Number 3, Boise State is there with a first-round bye. Number 4, Arizona will be on a first-round bye. Number 1, Oregon, and number 2, Georgia. So it kind of shook out the way it is. We don't want to go too in-depth on this because we kind of want to bring it to you on Saturday because there's only one standalone game this Saturday with the Army-Navy, which is it's kind of crazy to think that, like, not this Saturday, but next Saturday we start the playoffs.
Right.
It feels like it's going to be like, okay, because I feel like when the year ends, you always have, like, till the new year to have all the games go. So it's kind of crazy that we have Army-Navy, and then we're right back into this atmosphere.
Right.
But overall, I did want to ask one question, and we'll talk about this on Saturday. Did Alabama deserve to be in?
I'm going to say no, because they had the big loss. The loss at Oklahoma was the killer.
Yeah.
Was the killer. You can't only score 3 points against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not very good this year. I mean, they had some other bad losses, Vanderbilt, but that Oklahoma one, I think, kicked them out. I think also if SMU doesn't come back in that fourth quarter, they're out and Alabama's in.
Yeah.
That made it in the game. If they would have stayed the course and got blown out by 17 to 20 points, SMU's not in it. And Alabama is.
Well, I'm going to follow up with another question then. What about Miami? You felt that Miami should have been in?
I think the 2 bad losses hurt them.
Yeah.
Should have beat Syracuse. You had your chance. You should have beat them. You're up 21-0. You should have won. The Georgia Tech one. Georgia Tech played everybody tough this year.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they played tough against, but they did play tough against Notre Dame, and they played tough against Florida State, which we ended up finding out they weren't very good at all neither. But you've got to win the games that you're supposed to win. And I think the Syracuse one, when you're up 21-0, they don't have any defense, and you let them right back in it. You can't. Sorry.
Well,
and I think the Clemson winning knocked Miami out, because now you can have 3 teams from the ACC in the playoffs. No way.
Well, and I don't know if you saw the Alabama's AD after the whole thing being like, we need to now reassess our scheduling and stuff.
Yes, and you know what? Yes, and you might see a lot of that.
What a crybaby, though. What a bullshit crybaby.
Wow. Yeah.
That Alabama team was not that team this year.
Mm-hmm.
That Oklahoma loss, yes, don't get me wrong. Vanderbilt.
Yeah, that was a bad loss.
Like Tennessee, like there was bad losses this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk on Saturday about what we kind of think about these games and kind of what's betraying. But like when I thought about like the Alabama AD coming out and saying this stuff, it's like they had to put him in there. They had to take him out because of that third loss. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it wasn't like Alabama had this one, a Heisman player, or two, just like they had this major loss of a player that changed the whole season. They played inconsistent all year.
Yeah.
You didn't deserve to be in there. Like,
no.
And SMU, I totally agree. If they don't come back, and honestly, they probably should have won that game, because if they win that game, Clemson ain't in it.
No, right. And they only get one team, and may only get one team.
Yep.
And that would have been them. That was it.
Yeah. And
so
looking at this, I did see some funny things on social media, people putting their stuff. One of them being like they played it out on the college football. They played the playoffs out, and Penn State won it. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably going to go bald if Penn State wins the national championship. I just hate that.
Yeah.
Same time, I saw another one where Clemson won. I don't see that happening either.
No.
But, I think when you're looking at it, the one thing that I wanted to bring up, though, there's only one Heisman candidate that's in the playoffs.
Genty.
One. Oh, I'm sorry. That's two. I'm sorry. There's two.
Oh.
Dylan Gabriel
and Genty.
And Genty. Now, you said if Genty played for the Big 12 and played on Colorado, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. I actually disagree with that. I think if Genty played for the Colorado, they would be in the playoffs now. But if Travis Hunter played for Boise State, do you think they would be in the playoffs?
I'd say not.
This is my last campaign. I don't want Travis Hunter to win it. I want Genty to win it. I think he's the most deservable one.
Right.
Unfortunately, because he didn't make it to the playoffs, you're not there. Dylan Gabriel, I mean, you got a lot of weapons around you, man. And you've played like 7 years, okay? You are like a grown man playing against college kids. Relax, okay?
Right.
Genty deserves this Heisman. I will be so pissed. I'm going to put money on it because I'm going to have so much invested into this that
it's plus money too. It's plus money because Hunter's is he's the favorite, so he's minus money. So yeah, I would put it on any of the three.
But it just makes me so upset because yes, okay, they compared Travis Hunter on offense to Amora St. Brown and on defense to Cortland Sutton for the Denver.
Oh, Patrick Surtain.
Oh yeah, Patrick. Yes.
Right.
That's what they compared him to. Those are two Pro Bowl players. Shut up. That is
right.
crazy.
We can talk. Yeah. Right.
But it's just I want to push one more push into it because when is that? That's next week, right?
That's this Saturday.
This Saturday, yeah. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just want to give one more push into it. I want Genty to win. I feel like if we don't give it to him, why would anyone want to be a running back? You take the most abuse out of most players outside of offensive line, defensive line, but like you take so much abuse to get not paid and not.
Right.
There's no way anyone thought Barry Sanders' the record would even be that close, and he didn't even play 8 quarters.
Yeah. Right.
Played 8 quarters and he was that far away.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Well, we got Thursday Night Football. We'll be back on Saturday. We're going to break this down a little bit more, this college playoffs. Talk about what are some of these games, who we think, what who might have the home field advantage in this. And then obviously, you know who we're rooting for for this playoffs. Hopefully Notre Dame does a little well. But we'll be back on Saturday. We'll also be talking about Army Navy. We're going to have to throw a bet down on that game just because there's not much gambling going on. And then on Sunday, we'll bring back to the NFL and talk about that as well. But we want to thank everyone for listening and watching. Have a great rest of your week. We will see you on Saturday.